This mammalian cell has been infected with pathogenic Listeria monocytogenes. These bacteria move throughout the cytosol by recruiting host cell actin, which polymerizes and pushes them forward, producing a comet's tail in their wake. Whenever a bacterium is pushed into the plasma membrane, it creates a temporary protrusion and is then bounced back to continue its random path. If we look closely, we can see a bacterium divide inside the host cell. Immediately after separation, the two daughter cells assemble their own actin tails and start moving about. These bacteria can also form actin comet tails and move in cell extracts. Here, the bacteria are expressing the green fluorescent protein, and actin is labeled red with a fluorescent dye. The dynamics of the actin tails that propel the bacteria through the cytosol can be modeled based on known biochemical and physical properties of actin and actin filaments.
Every individual involved in the food industry, from farm to table, is concerned with food safety. And the primary thrust of this concern is directed towards preventing the unintentional contamination of that food. But what if some individuals or group desires to intentionally contaminate food for political or other reasons? Are we prepared to recognize and prevent such an act? Such an act has happened several times in the past, and it's likely to occur again in the future. Unfortunately, one of the most notorious cases occurred in the United States in 1984. It happened in The Dalles, Oregon, a small town located along the Columbia River. Members of a commune and followers of an Indian cult leader, the Bhagwan Rajneesh, purposely contaminated salad bars at 10 local restaurants with salmonella on a Sunday in September. The result was 751 confirmed cases of salmonella poisoning. Additionally, before it was over, 4 of the contaminated restaurants went out of business, putting many employees out of work, and 3 of the owners were forced into personal bankruptcy. Ironically, investigators from the Center for Disease Control and the Oregon State Department of Health determined the incidents were accidental and caused by poor hygiene on the part of the restaurant workers at the 10 separate locations. The investigators simply could not believe the incident had been purposely caused, despite overwhelming evidence to the contrary. The true nature of the incident was not revealed until a year later, when the Bhagwan himself reported the perpetrators to the Oregon police. It is doubtful whether the CDC or any other investigators today would be as reluctant to consider such an incident as to be a bioterrorist attack, especially now considering 9/11 and the subsequent anthrax incidents. The possibility of intentional contamination of our food supply remains a threat that must be taken seriously. It's a threat that, once recognized, can be defended against with good planning, common sense, and appropriate vigilance. The following segments will help you prepare a defensive plan for your organization that can be employed successfully to meet this challenge. The steps are simple. Assess your current situation, prepare your plan, test it by conducting periodic exercises, and modify it as required.
The United States has one of the safest food supplies in the world, but the threat of terrorism has changed the face of many industries, including food service. Attacks on the World Trade Center and the bombing of the Federal Building in Oklahoma City have made us reevaluate our safety. The United States has also become increasingly aware that the use of anthrax or any other threatening agent, on even a small scale, can overcome our emergency response system, and a deliberate act to contaminate the food supply could have catastrophic effects. Terrorism is defined as a use of force or violence against persons or property in violation of criminal laws for the purpose of intimidation, coercion, or ransom. Protecting against these acts isn't just the responsibility of authorities. Everyone involved from the farm to the table must play a role. Protection against both intentional and unintentional contamination is important